beautiful people. Thank you so much for clicking on this video and hearing part 3 of my sister's story. I appreciate it so much. We got Mama here.
Hi.
And we're gonna get into 2017 of my sister's disappearance and give all the leads, all the information, what information we can share of 2017 with you guys. But first we're going to start with a little Q&A. Some people asked some questions and we are more than happy to answer the questions that people have asked us within reason. So we're going to get right into it, you guys. Say hi to my mom.
Hi.
And here we go. Okay, the first question. How many sidekicks have you talked to? Do you believe any of them?
Oh my goodness. More than I can probably count. Like, I mean, realistically, you get a lot of psychics contacting you. Some are good and some are not. And
have any asked for money?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had some ask for money. One person that I know paid for a review for us, and I didn't want them to do that because I just feel like it's not a good thing to
pay for a review. What do you mean?
Or to play for a reading. So they had done a reading, and but that same psychic is around town, or not in Wenatchee, but like in their surrounding areas. And she contacted probably me or people I knew probably 20 or 5 times or so. So it was not. I just didn't feel like it was very legitimate.
Yeah.
Then she would tell us that she knew where Jessie was, but then she wouldn't show up for appointments.
I know exactly which one you're talking about. Because I've talked to about, I think, one who claimed to be like an actual psychic, and then a group of people that said that they would like kind of meditate on it and see what they could get. And the information that they shared was pretty interesting. And you always have to go with a grain of salt with any of that.
Well, you do, and anything that they do give you isn't concrete. It's not, you know, it's just it's a tool that you could maybe follow to go with the information that you already have. It's not, you know, it's not a direct science of any kind for sure.
Yeah. And to say I believe them or believed any of them, yeah.
I definitely believe a couple of them, because not only that, they're still checking in with me. They're still making sure that I'm okay. They care about us. They care about our family. They don't charge money. The ones that I've talked to that are in those positions, they really do care about Jessie's case, and they don't care about making money or recognition. They don't want either one, actually, because they consider it a gift.
Want to help.
Yeah, well, and they consider it a gift, so it's their gift that they're giving back to, you know, to people. So
exactly. So I hope that answers that person's question. If you could say one thing to Jessie, what would it be?
Oh, man. I just told her that I love her.
Yeah. Okay. You tell her you love her, and we're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
And doing this, believe it or not, you guys watching this, you're helping us figure it out. We'll just leave that there. I would say that too. I love you. I think I would say I'm sorry.
I would too. That's what I was thinking. Do I say I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Yeah, we'll leave that there. We'll leave that there before
I start butt.
We're not trying to open too many can of worms here. I live in 3 Lakes, and I swore I saw them pull a body out the day that the police searched the reservoir in 3 Lakes. Do you think the police would withhold that information if they found a body, or would have reason to withhold that information?
Yes, and yes. The police do not have to tell you if they find a body or your child's body if there's an active investigation going on.
Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all, and that's one of the things that I'm going to be addressing, because we have wonderful things called gag orders, and we have lots of other things that we can do to keep people from talking about things. I get that there might be a bigger investigation, but nothing's bigger than my child's life. My child's life is bigger to me than it is anybody else's. And her murderers are still out walking the streets, and that bothers me.
Yeah.
So they don't have to tell you, and it's really strange to me, because I thought that they would, but I don't know. I know that, okay, so the first day that they searched, they went out in boats and did just the sonar. The second day, they actually sent divers out. I have been told that they wouldn't have gone out the second day unless they seen something the first day. And I've been told that by other people outside of the state that are dive teams.
Wow, yeah.
So it's possible that you did see that. very much so.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. You're finding out stuff with the law that you would have never thought, because if they think it's a serial killer,
they don't have to tell you.
They don't have to tell you. If it's someone bigger, if it's part of a bigger case they're trying to break, they don't have to tell you, which is so, it's interesting, but just so messed up on so many levels.
Well, I think for our family it's even worse. Or not that it's worse. It's never worse, okay? And I didn't mean it that way. It's never worse. But we are active people. We're not going to sit by and wait for things to just happen. It's not going to happen. I've never been that way as a parent. Like, if my kids need me, I'm there. So for us, we are looking. I am genuinely looking, and I have been for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So the problem comes in, though, is that when you are doing that and then you're following leads that didn't really need to be followed, or you're misled, so you follow leads that are useless, it becomes very frustrating. And it's almost like a second assault on your family, because you feel kind of betrayed about everything.
Yeah. So
even though it's the law, it still feels that way a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And we've said that whoever hurt Jessie messed with the wrong family.
Yes, I did.
We say that all the time, because they really did. Because we're not going to give up on her. So someone else asked, how do you stay so strong?
So for you?
For me?
Yeah.
We talked about this. We talked about this last week, and I just said that I never think of Jessie and what her life could have been. I think of her as what she was and what the life I shared with her. I don't say in like a negative place with it. I'm not. I'm trying to accept things. I guess that's how I say strong. And it's not every day. I'm like, I'm this badass bitch that's just strong every day. I try to focus on the positive and be accepting of the situation, because yeah, we're trying to do something about it, but the situation is what it is. So
I don't think I'm strong at all. So I mean, I really don't.
You are.
I think when people say that, because anybody going through this, they don't feel strong. I mean, you can ask tons of missing, person's families, and they're going to tell you that they're not strong. Yeah. They don't feel strong. And it's just, or you hear a lot, well, I don't know, I couldn't do it. You do it. You have to do it. You're not given a choice. You do it. So you figure out how the best way for you to deal with it is. And that's not the same for every family or every person. And I think we see a lot of that. I had seen somebody on your channel talking about some of that stuff, the different controversies. Some families think 3 years is too long or too short for you to make up your mind about what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
But the reality is that families usually know more than what they're willing to say, because we want our cases solved, and we don't want to risk the case for law enforcement. What is that?
Is the smoke alarm? Alright guys, sorry we're back. My smoke detector was going off, but the situation is handled. It's all good. So now, those were all the questions. So now we're going to get into 2017, and my mom's kind of going to be taking the wheel here. She knows so much more than I do, and everything's kind of new information. Not new information, but a lot of it is stuff that I'm like, oh my god, I didn't even know that.
And some of it I've forgotten about already.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting, though, that you didn't know some of the things I just assume that people know. And that's been the most, for educational purposes, and doing these videos with you has really taught me, because that's what I'm doing right now, is I'm going back and looking at all of my notes, all of my stuff, because the first 2 videos, I realized that I need stuff in an order that I can explain it to someone else, because just because I know it doesn't mean someone else is.
It's a refresher.
It's a refresher, and it's a way for me to look at it from other people's lens, so that I can put it in a perspective that works for somebody else.
Yeah.
So even
yeah.
So I'm kind of going through and doing a timeline of actually events right now, which we have the timeline, but it's just not put together where you guys would understand it or see it the way that I do. So anyway, with that being said, there's, I'm sure, lots of 2017 things that I'm going to leave out on accident, and it is hard, because one of the things is you don't know what to say. You don't know how to say it. you don't know how much information to present to the public.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't want to be negative, but it's not an overly positive situation. And it's stressful and it's hard to deal with and it's sad. And I don't think a lot of people talk about it. Like, I know that I haven't seen a lot because I've Googled a lot on it and stuff, and I think it's really hard for people to do what we do and talk about it. And I've seen more lately, though. I've seen a lot more families reaching out and saying, no, this is us. And, but like I said, it's still at that, it's just at the cusp of everything is kind of how it feels. Like you're right there at the cusp. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to explain that. One other question people had was about Jace, and because he had been with me since the day he was born. But the thing is that Jessie was still so involved in his life. She was his mother, and I'm, a second mom, and he knows that, and he talks about her still, and still talks about that particular thing. He's like, I'm lucky, I got 2 moms. Yeah. It wasn't that Jessie was a good mom, because Jessie did what was right for her children, and that's what a good mom does. Jessie was active in his life, though, and so I just want to make that clear that people know that that was the way it was. So.
Yeah, definitely.
So, kind of to see how we work too, it's kind of important to understand the structure of how we're running things. In 2016, we had a team form, and that team is awesome. Thank you guys, we love you. So it is now at 27 people, so it's gotten quite large. And I actually have a surprise coming up soon because it's going to be getting even bigger, but very exciting. So we'll talk about that later, though. And so anyway, we have that. We also have Grace's Place. So Grace's Place is kind of a support place for everybody to go and talk and just share information, and then we have Safe Group, which is a part of that. In Safe Group, we share a lot of information. We haven't done it as much lately, just because things have seemed to get maybe more sensitive or more detailed, where people are messaging us privately. And we have had a lot since your videos. Like, they've generated a lot of good leads and consistent in the same kinds of leads. So it's really positive to see. I'm really happy about it. So anyway, getting into 2017, with that being known in that lens, kind of being able to see that whole thing with how we run our team and our investigation. So we had so many leads that it was kind of ridiculous in a lot of ways. Everybody says it's Wenatchee, so I don't know if it's just Wenatchee or if it's just the way it is, because it sounds like it might be other places too. But we really had like the gamut. We had from she was taken to the pig farm and disposed of, to 3 Lakes, to Palisades, to Lake Chelan, to Apple Acres Road, all the way up to Tenasket. We had Everett in California. And so every one of those you have to follow up on. You can't just ignore them. Yeah. And so it took me to places like I went to, what's the name of that? The Empire. Is it Empire? I think it's Empire. Above the little place above the bar where people stay. I went there. Is it Wally's with this? What's the building up above it? I don't know.
Wally's Tavern.
Yeah, it's above Wally's. So, we went there and talked to people there, and we've been all over the place. The Value Inn on the north end of town is another big one that we heard lots and lots of stuff about and continue to hear things about. I mean, I had actually people messaging and asking if we could help them do stuff because they knew that things were happening that they wanted to maybe look into. All that's been reported to the police that we had during that time. So, whatever it happened. One of the big things that we did have happen was a man named Carton, and I'm just going to name him because it's a fake name anyway, but he contacted a couple of women, and one particular was a friend that I had developed through this, and she's about Jessie's age, and she had said, Sherry, I have this guy, he's an attorney, and he wants to help you because he's helping me with a situation. And I was like, oh, okay. So I started talking to him, and it just didn't feel right. It felt like something was off. And so when I gave his information to the team, they started running everything down. So when they ran everything down, it came back that he had like 20 profiles. He had child pornography on those profiles. He was getting on date sites for women in Wenatchee and that had young children, young girls in their home. and it was pretty disturbing. And so we did turn that over to Wenatchee Police Department too. They were interested in that because, I don't know, maybe they're working on something, so hopefully that helped them. And he did go away. We thought he might have came back last year, but we're not sure, so I think we might have nipped it in the bud. But it was pretty scary because he was targeting a lot of women, and I did feel good because that was one place that everybody kind of said, hey, wait a minute, this is wrong, and this is happening to me, and this is happening to me. And so the girls got to talking, and I was impressive, I thought, to be able to come together as, you know, a small, tiny part of the community and stop that.
Yeah.
So hopefully, yeah. And I appreciate everybody that did come forward and give us information, and I'm sure the Wenatchee Police Department did too.
Yeah. And that's a common thing in Jessie's disappearance is injustices to women.
It really is. How
women are treated, disposed of. It's been the hardest reality of anything, and yeah.
It really is, and I think that people have the wrong idea of what trafficking is even. And when you start talking about trafficking, who's a victim? Who's not a victim? Who's a prostitute? Who's not a prostitute? Are they all prostitutes? Because they're all doing that. You would be amazed at the gamut of responses you get to those questions. One that sticks with me to this day, and it upset me so bad because I thought, how can we teach others if we can't teach people that are even in our situation things? So there was a conversation about this exact same thing on Facebook, and some lady had said they're all prostitutes, and that was her overall statement. So to me, that was just an uneducated remark, and she probably could have just explained a few things. But one of the other moms that has a missing child came back and said, well, my girl was a good girl, and she went to church, and she did this, and she did that, and she's not a prostitute. And so she's not like those others. And I came back and said, okay, well, so if they are on the wrong side of the tracks and they get trafficked, then it's okay, is what you're saying, right? And that turned into a big discussion. And I'm not going to get into it too much, but just that idea, I think of it, is really important for us to think about, like, what is it in our minds? What do we believe it is? And I learned a lot just looking up, like on the FBI page list, they have a huge thing about trafficking on there. And it's really good, I think, to look at and kind of educate ourselves on. So
there's a reason why someone is a prostitute.
There is
a reason behind it.
And I hate that word. I hate it. I won't get into why.
It never means a violent crime or a sexual assault should happen to any woman. No. Ever. But we could go on all day about we
really can.
Yeah.
But with that being said, though, too, the other thing is that usually somebody else is benefiting from whatever is going on. And
exactly.
That's and you
There's
can't
that leverage.
There's
leverage in some way, definitely.
Well, it's interesting. Did you see that case that was from Wenatchee where that man is being prosecuted over in Seattle for having a girl here? That he like kidnapped and brought here and sold her here and then took her somewhere else. And all around and then they prosecuted him.
Wow.
So yeah. I find it very interesting that we don't hear a lot about it in the news. Very rarely.
That's true. It's so true.
But yeah, because if you go on Craigslist, let me tell you can find some interesting things just on Craigslist here in town.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that's the one thing that bothers me, even about myself, about situations, is how uneducated I was. Because I really didn't know until I started looking into it. Yeah. And I think that as a society, just all issues, not just this issue, but all issues, we need to ask the hard questions and we need to get answers.
Yeah, definitely.
But anyway, that kind of goes into, so that one lead. And then, okay, so the last person that Jessie talked to, and it goes back to 16 just a little bit, was a man that, or I say man, but to me more like a kid, I guess, but he was a Southside member. And that conversation, though, he got picked up, I believe, later that day, and nothing happened. I mean, it was very amicable. His response was, Jessie's my friend.
Like he got picked up by the police.
Yeah. Well, they had his phone in evidence. And so when they were calling the numbers on Jessie's phone to see who people were and stuff like that, I guess, it was ringing in the evidence room. So they were able to read those messages. It's kind of cool. It worked out that way. So, anyways, they had all of their messages. There wasn't anything in there that was like, he looked at her like a sister, kind of. And I find that to be a common theme as well. Like, everybody liked Jessie. She was like the great aunt that lives on the, you know, in the house with with a lot of cats and stuff. Like, she just loved everybody. And so, and that was a common theme. And he did look at her like a sister. And then come to find out, though, he did date one of her very close people. Should I say who it was? I don't know if it's okay. I'm not gonna say because I don't want to get anybody involved in things. But anyways, he dated somebody close to Jessie for a long time, and so that kind of helped too. And he did look at her as a sister. So I just wanted to kind of cover that because people have asked me about that, not on the video, but you know, out and about. So there was a lot of things that took us. There was a guy that was sent to prison in Tonasket, and they thought he might have been involved. It was really hard because, like, you have to dive into a lot of things. Now, remember, we did have access to her Facebook, her one Facebook, so we were in there getting information, and we did have information about the people who were using her Facebook because they were talking, and so they were talking to each other. They were talking to other people. I do think things were erased out of there, and I'm not sure that if the police have been able to get that information or not. Yeah. So, and then it's kind of interesting too because I found that the law is very complicated in some things, and you want to be very, very careful. So I also want to do a little disclaimer here. Families, if you're watching this, don't do everything we do, because there's times that it's not okay and it can damage your case. So or you know, your loved one's case. So research your laws and know what they are before you do it, and make sure that you're willing to sacrifice that particular thing, because it might be that you can't use it in court, and maybe that they can't use it for a warrant. So you want to be very, very careful in doing that. And I just say that because I don't want anybody to do something and then it not work out. I would feel horrible. So I just want to say that. Because with that being said, we do look for Jessie. I mean, like, searches. We go and look for her. And I just want to give an example, though, so you kind of understand what I'm saying. I contacted Search and Rescue last year and wanted them to do a couple of things, and they're unable to do that without being invited in by law enforcement. Yeah. And at first I was really upset about that because I was like, why can't I just pay you? Like, you should be able to go do this. And after doing my research on my own, I figured out what it is that if they go there without law enforcement and they damage a crime scene, then it doesn't help anything. You can't solve anything at that point.
Definitely.
So I get it on one hand, and on the other, I don't. So it's kind of one of those things, but just so that people are aware of that, we're not always like typical. And I do research things, so if I know it's against the law, we decide, like, kind of evaluate it to see if it's worth the risk.
Yeah. So
sometimes things are worth the risk, sometimes they're not. I just wanted to say that because, like I said, I don't want people doing things that we necessarily do. So Forget Me Not is a website that is dedicated to Mackenzie Cowell, and she does really good stuff in there. She has a back page too that I said that's not a bad thing, huh?
What?
A back page? Is that the wrong thing to say? She has a page that's associated with that that's private, and so people go in and say things to her too, and not to the lady that runs the page. And so we got a lot of information out of there too, a lot of leads, a lot of people commenting and giving us stuff, and that was all in like 2017. But what it did do is it created an overabundance of things to look at. And so saying that, at the time I wasn't at home working on Jessie's case. I was working full time, and I had her little one, which he can be quite the handful. He's like his mama. And it was really challenging to get through all of those. The team did a really good job, but there's some things they don't like to make decisions without talking to me. And matter of fact, they won't make decisions without talking to me. So everything that they do, they'll put everything together, kind of look at it, and then they'll say, hey, Sherry, what do you think? What do you want to do with this? And then I have to make that decision. And I think you and I talked about it. Sometimes it does feel lonely. It feels like you got all of this stuff you're trying to decide what to do with. Yeah. And it can get a little overbearing sometimes. Yeah, and definitely. Because you have those options. But anyway, so there was lots and lots of leads that year, and they were hard to follow up on, every one of them. And honestly, we thought a lot of them were being looked at that maybe didn't get looked at, just because of maybe manpower or overlooked or whatever. There's a lot of reasons why they didn't get looked at. But we're going back and actually kind of relooking at those as well. And so between the new leads that Brittany's channel has generated, as well as the stuff that we're looking at that kind of got missed before, we're getting a lot of new information. And we're getting to look at it a little bit differently because now we have additional information that fills in. Mm-hmm. So we are going to be doing some things with the, which is really strange, but political, because I'm not into politics at all. But we are going to be doing some of that. We've been in contact with law enforcement that's outside of our local area. And so we're excited about doing some of that stuff too, especially with, well, I'm not going to say because it's new and I'm not sure where it's at. And this week's going to be big though, really, really big for us. Mm-hmm. And not just for us, but for many, many families. Because we're trying to set a precedence is what we're really trying to do so that families get a chance to do something a little different and to be able to be productive and feel productive and to feel strong. You know, because you don't feel strong. You feel like you're beat down all the time because every single thing feels like an obstacle sometimes. Yeah. I had one mom, and she's in California. Her little girl is missing, and she said, I remember reading her thing when Jessie just first went missing, and I remember reading it, and she said, I walked out of the police station with nothing, not a pamphlet, not hope, not a shred of decency, not anything, no reassurances. I walked out with nothing. That has always bothered me, and it's always stuck with me. And to me, like, I want to change that. I want to change it to when you do a missing persons report, you're given a pamphlet or given a book. Actually, I want to do a whole pamphlet thing where it's not just a book, but what is it? Like a binder put together. So families have it and they can start filling it in and doing something productive and get it out there. And like NamUs. In Washington State, you're not required to be put into NamUs if you go missing.
And NamUs is?
NamUs is, I'm going to see if I get this right. It's a database where they collect all this information on missing persons and unidentified persons, and they cross-reference all of them. And they do excellent work. If you haven't heard of them, which I hadn't until Jessie went missing, go check it out because it is awesome. And we never think that someone we love is going to go missing. Ever. Like, ever. So it is important to know at least that program. And the story is really interesting how that came about. I'm not going to go into it, but it's really cool. And I have a lot of respect for them. So I always say, get them into NamUs. In order to get into NamUs, you have to have a case number. Some families struggle with getting a case number, believe it or not, because they don't want to take their report as missing. They try to say, oh, well, just wait a couple of days, or there's a 24-hour period, or there's a 48-hour period. No, there's a 72-hour period. There is no period. So just know that there's not, and don't take no for an answer. Go down to the police station if you need to. Yeah. Sounds good? Okay, so we had lots and lots of leads. We'll start there. And they did go from like a pig farm to Tenasket to Appleacre Roads to Chelan to she went with a guy somewhere that she left town, that she went to Mexico with somebody. She was in Everett, she was in California, and you literally got like her everywhere. People were calling from California. I had people call me from Las Vegas saying, look, I think this is your daughter. So it was pretty cool that people responded, but it was also very, very overwhelming.
And confusing.
Yeah. And you don't know what to do because you can't go down there. You can't get a plane to go down there when you don't know if it's real or not. So that's a lot of that. And then we did have some good things. So let's go over that really quick. Because Grace's Place is something that we run to help promote not just Jessie, but really like empowering women so that we're talking about those issues that a lot of women face that aren't necessarily talked about. And I'm really hoping to get more into that because it hasn't been very active because we've been so busy. Yeah. But Brittany's really brought to light tons of stuff of where I feel like I need to go in and maybe be able to communicate better. And so everything that I'm doing now is really focused on that. So you guys are getting kind of the choppy version of it right now, but it will all come together, we promise. So as far as like the leads go, you can't go into every single lead when you're doing this. Like I can't tell you guys every single lead because we don't know really what to say or how much to say because we have had leads that I completely dismissed 3 years ago come back full circle and now they actually make sense.
Like a new video.
Correct.
So I will try to link that video, put it in here, or link it in the description box, but pretty much, you want to explain it?
I do. It's a 4-second clip, so there's not a lot to it. But I think there's valuable information in there. So with that being said, I would like you guys to please take a look at it and tell us what you see. So we have reviewed it, and so have tons of other people that were on the site, but I'm not going to say anything quite yet. Let's wait and see what you guys do see, but I'll also attach the stills that we took from it. So we were able to take still shots from that video, and so you can kind of see things a little different. But I think it would be great if you guys could participate in that.
Yeah, definitely.
So if we missed it last time. So on the 25th of May, we had a missing person event, the first one in Wenatchee. It turned out really great. Wish we could have done it again, but there wasn't anybody else that was really wanting to do it this last year, and I just was not able to. So, but in 2017, there was also, on that same day, 2 people found in their truck between Leavenworth and Lake Chelan. No, not Lake Chelan. Lake Wenatchee. Sorry about that. Yeah. And so they were deceased, and it was a man and a woman. And so I just happened to find out about that at the same time as the event was, and so that was kind of hard. I actually wasn't going to even speak at that event because I was not in my right state of mind. I was kind of upset. Anyways, I did go ahead at the very end and speak, and it talked a lot about things that are pretty good. So I'm not going to go into it, but you guys can look at it. It's either at Grace's place that we had. Yeah,
and then so the people that were found deceased in their car, it was a couple, and it obviously they said a woman was found, a man and a woman, and so we were thinking any woman being found, we're like, could it be Jessie? Could it be Jessie? And unfortunately, it turned out not to be Jessie. So it was a lead we had that turned out to be obviously not Jessie. So,
and it's really hard kind of going into that and some of the miscommunication that's out there with everybody. It's really hard to know what to hope for. Do you hope that it's her? Do you hope that it's not her?
Exactly.
And so, and a lot of families are feeling the same thing. So I think like judging people is really a good thing to try and kind of look at and see how you react to things, because we really don't know. We don't know how someone else is going to react to stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And her ex threatened her in 2017.
Yes, he did. Actually, I had come across some messages, and they had a volatile relationship, so it really wasn't like anything completely unusual. But I found that particular one interesting because it was like 3 days before she went missing.
Yeah. And that was the ex I said she was in an abusive relationship with, and he said, "You're gonna get your karma."
Yeah. And he said something else too, like before that, a couple days, I think before that, I think too,
yeah,
as well.
He said a lot of stuff.
A lot of things. But the interesting thing about that was, which I didn't share, is that he had told people, or she had told people, if something happens to me, he did it. And I find that very, very compelling and interesting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that pretty much is 2017.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
So we still have 2018 to go over, and what's left of 2019, obviously. But thank you so much again for watching this, you guys. It means the world to us, not only to her and I, but for the rest of the family that's off screen. We just want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. It literally means the world to us. So thank you so much. We'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.